none, motion to accept would be helpful.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the 5/9/2022 ZBA regular minute meetings as submitted.
Support.
We have a motion by Mr. Flood, support by Mr. Naskis. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes. Next, we have agenda review and approval for tonight's cases. Does anyone have any concerns or issues? If not, accept the motion to.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Thank you. And I will support. Motion by Mr. Flood, supported by myself. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, we're ready for business. First case is AB 2022-13. Mark McClintock, vacant parcel, one parcel north of 484 Cushing Street, Sidwell 09-03-278-031, postponed from the meeting of April 25th, 2022. Petitioner is seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, number 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3. He is looking for a 3-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to construct a new home with an attached garage 27 feet from the front property line on the road side. Number 2 is a 4-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8-foot to construct a new home with attached garage 4 feet from the side property line to the north. And number 3 is a 9.62% lot coverage variance above the allowed 25% for a lot total coverage of 34.62%.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Nassif.
I just need to let you know that I live within 300 feet of the property in question. I don't have an opinion on this. I don't know the owners or have an opinion on it, but I leave it to my colleagues to decide if I should sit on this or not participate.
Ms. Flood.
Mr. Chairman, we just redid our bylaws. The Township Board approved the new bylaws on May 4th, and we took the 300-foot ruling out. Now to be recused on a conflict of interest, you must be a relative or have a monetary interest. And I believe you said you had no monetary interest in this, so I have no problem.
Can we have a motion, please, whether the rest of the board believes Mr. Naskis should recuse? I personally have no issue.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Walker.
I move that Ms. Danaskis not be recused pursuant to the latest changes in the bylaws by the Board of Trustees.
And I will support. Motion by Mr. Walker, supported by myself. Anybody in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? None. You're all set with us. Thank you for bringing that up. The applicant. Introduce yourself, please, and let us know.
Yes, I'm Mark McClintock. I'm the owner of the property.
You were here last time.
Yes, sir.
Help me with my memory. If I recall, one of the biggest issues was Mr. Goodlow had a technical concern about drainage that was a very real concern. And you were, I believe, going to do some background and get things in order and bring them back.
Yes, sir.
Is that where we are tonight?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us what's changed?
Actually, I have my architect here, if he could speak
Okay.
well for me.
Introduce yourself and,
My name is Chuck Marchetti. I'm the architect for Mark McClintock.
okay, I am going to step back because other than the drainage issue, which I didn't have enough knowledge to figure one way or the other, I didn't have any real concerns about the last time he was here. Open it to the board. Questions?
Mr. Chair, I believe that was the only fly in the ointment, if you will, with regard to the petitioner's request. I'm prepared to make a motion based upon the representations made by the petitioner at this time, based upon the application.
Okay, let's stand by just 1 second. Any questions by the other board members?
No, maybe recognize?
Please, Mr. Flood.
Yeah, everything else is in compliance with me. That area over there, the rest of their homes have had to address the same issue in that area. And I don't find their grievances being, in fact, some of them, it's even less than the other ones that were asked for over there.
Cook, you have anything?
Well, I wanted to hear what the, I'm sorry, sir, what's your,
Myself?
Yes, sir.
Chuck Marquetti.
Mr. Marquetti. So in terms of the property itself, can you talk to us a little bit about what you found in terms of drainage?
It is a challenging site, as you guys had identified, but we revised the elevations with the proposed grades, and we revised the contours on the site plan as well to indicate how we're draining the site. And basically, it's draining on the north side of the site, but draining down towards the lake. So it's not gonna hit any adjacent properties. We have a swale coming down the side of the property there on the north side, and it's draining towards the lake. We have retaining walls where required. We understand that we'll have to probably bring in some some engineered fill and probably some deeper footings to address some of the site constraints. But as we keep developing here and we get our structural engineer involved, we will make sure that that's handled.
Go ahead, you're still,
No. And
I have a question for Mr. Goodloe. Have you had a chance to get involved with the new information from this?
Yeah, I saw the packet, and yeah, they did change the elevation to the correct elevations that match the contours of the property. So you have an accurate depiction of the property as it would be finished off. And they did add the swale, I believe, on that side as well.
So it's a fair statement that you're professionally comfortable with what
Right.
they're doing?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
one other thing, Mr. Gallo, there was some, well, I don't know, concern about that rating, that outside wall that's against the road.
I can address
Northern
that
wall.
too.
Yes, sir.
We will make sure that that's a fire rated wall as required. It's within 5 feet, so we'll make sure, and I did already verify that the window, the opening percentage is under the required.
And, Mr. Cook, I did bring up the fact that, when you deal with properties so close to one another, you may have issues with foundations, putting pressure on other foundations. That's not the case at this property.
Do we have anybody in the audience that came specifically to speak to this case tonight? Thank you. Seeing none? This is a variance request on Cushing Street. Okay. Do we have anything further by the board? Ms. Walker, if you're still inclined?
Scared me off now. Mr. Chair, in regard to AB 202213, Mark McClintock, vacant parcel 1, parcel north of 484 Cushing Street, 0903-278031, postponed from 4/25/2022 meeting. Petitioner seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance number 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, Zone R3. The first variance is a 3-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to construct a new home with an attached garage 27 feet from the front property line roadside, and 2, a 4-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8-foot to construct a new home with an attached garage 4 feet from the side property line north, and a 9.62% lot coverage variance above the allowed 25% for a total lot coverage of 34.62. I move that the petitioner's request be granted, in that he has been back here, I think this is maybe the 3rd time, and every time we've come back, there's been changes made, and he's cooperated with the building official and with this board to make those changes. And this property is part of, and I forget if there are 3 or 4 separate parcels that make up this particular area of the lakefront. And this is the last of the 4, of the 3 or the 4. And these variances are even less, I think, than the previous variances that have been granted. Also, the petitioner does show the following practical difficulties in that this is right on the lake, and space is at a minimum, and they've worked hard to fit this into the footprint. the following are exceptional, extraordinary circumstances or conditions applicable to the property involved that do not apply generally to other properties in the same district or zone. As I mentioned earlier, this is right on on lakefront, and there's a road that passes right through there, so their difficulties have been, a number of them, but they've managed to overcome them. Further, that there'd be no impeding of the adequate supply of light or air to adjacent property. It does not unreasonably increase the congestion in public streets. It doesn't increase the danger of fire. Specifically, the petitioners indicated that one wall in question, if I say firewall, I'm not sure even that's the right term I'm using, if it's a fire, I'm not an engineer or an architect, but if that's.
A fire-rated partition.
A fire-rated
Technically, it's
partition.
a little different than a firewall, but.
Sounds way nicer than a firewall. In addition, the drainage issues that were at the forefront of the problems the last time they were here have been apparently resolved to the satisfaction of the building department. And in no other way would granting of this variance impair the public health, safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township.
Support.
Anything further from the board? We have a motion by Mr. Walker, supported by Mr. Flood. Please call the roll.
Mr. Walker, did you ask the public for a comment on the motion?
On the motion.
You're supposed to ask the public for comment
Ask them for
He did.
on the
comment
motion?
While we were working.
Yeah, ask them again on the motion. You have to ask for any public comment on the motion now.
This will be the first time, but,
What, Mr. Kelly kind of reminded me.
okay. Does anybody in the audience have any comments on the motion that was just made? Come on up. Identify yourself and let us know what's on your mind.
So, am I to understand 2740 Judah is asking for a 1,289
We're only-
square foot variance?
This isn't your case. This is only the case on Cushing Street.
Okay, sorry.
You'll get another turn. Okay, we have apparently nobody in the audience that has a concern about this. We have a motion by Mr. Walker, support by Mr. Flood. Please call the roll.
Diane Denaskus,
Yes.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Don Walker,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes. Motion passes. You're all set to go. I would just ask that you, for your own best interest, you're not putting a ranch on a flat piece of land. You're gonna have a lot of problems over there and a lot of issues. If you come up with an issue that you don't have an answer for, Mr. Goodlow's phone call away. And if his people are involved in it before it happens, it makes it a little easier for you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Good
much.
day. All right, next case is AB 2022-19, Terry Chapman, 2740 Judah Road, Sidwell, 09-32-200-029. Petitioner is seeking two variances from zoning ordinance 78, zoned R1. Article 27, section 27.02, subsection 8, lot size is over 2.5 acres. Number one, a 1,260 square foot variance above the allowed 1,400 square feet maximum floor area of all detached accessory buildings to build a pole barn 2,660 square feet. Pole barn, 2,660 square feet. Number two, 1,289 square foot variance above the allowed 1,900 square feet maximum floor area of all accessory buildings to build a 2,600 square foot pole barn in addition to an existing detached 529 square foot garage. The spokesman for the petitioners, introduce yourself to the mic.
Terry Chapman.
Okay, if you need to pull that towards you, feel free, because we'll want to record everything that's said.
There we go. Hi, good evening.
You've got a long lot and a narrow lot,
Yes.
and I was back there, that, I won't call it a road, but what you've got back there for travel is a nice added touch to get down to where you need to be. Now, you're asking for essentially almost double the allowable size of accessory buildings. I didn't see a lot of, for lack of a better term, toys around. That's a lot of space. Can you enlighten us a little bit about what you plan to do with it?
Sure. So the current house that's there doesn't really have a garage. I mean, it has a tiny garage, but I don't think you could fit any current car into it, my truck or, you know. We do have a little, I don't know, like, it's not ATV, UTV that, you know, fits in there now. So I think we'll get a few more of those things. We got a couple kayaks. Obviously, it's a new property for us. We're not full-time residents. We live about, you know, our primary is about 30 minutes away. For us, it's a little getaway, and we're excited to make the property, you know, nice and usable for our families and, you know, enhance it so that we can use it. What we'd like to put in the pole barn is we have 2 Sprinter vans and, you know, do like a little kitchen and a bath and make it a little more convenient to go back and forth to the lake and to be able to keep the vans there and trying to think if there's anything. There's my husband. Anything else in there?
Any
So that's the
commercial
plan.
activity?
No, zero commercial activity.
Anybody living overnight?
No, unless we stay overnight, you know, whether it's in the Sprinter van or, you know, in the main house, which we haven't updated yet since we've gotten it.
Well, I was, just by way of comment, I was in the fire service in another town for 25 years.
Yeah.
And one of the most dangerous things you can do is be sleeping in an area where they don't expect to find you. So you've got a house up there on top of the hill. If you've got people in the shed down below or the pole barn or whatever, and they have no reason to expect there are people in there, if they operate here anywhere like we did, the attack will be completely different if we think there's life safety versus no life safety. So having people in there overnight would be, in my one vote, one man opinion, a bad idea.
Yeah, no, it's more like a kitchenette with like a big porch so we could sit out and enjoy the lake, and, you know, room to park the vans and a bathroom, so it's, you know, closer to the facilities, because like you said, it's a long walk. And then, you know, our plan for the house is, you know, to update it a little bit and, you know, paint, carpet, and, you know, change out, you know, some of the other things, but that's the general plan.
Okay. Questions by the board?
Mr.
Ms. Flood?
What size is the pole barn? What's length and width? Because you got 20,
60 by 38.
60?
60 by 38.
Plus the front porch.
That's
plus the
almost like a
porch.
horse barn.
No, no horses, though.
Well, that's about the size of a horse barn. For the record, you meet you have almost 3 acres there. You meet all the side setbacks. There's no setback request here. You're going to be 513 feet from the water, and you're 230 feet away from the home. Would you consider a smaller building?
And, sure.
Hi, I'm Jerry Chapman. I'm
Closer.
Terry's husband, as well as one of the owners of the property. And there's another family with us as well that owns the property. They're both Sprinter vans. They're 26 feet, and just between the two, side by side, and then they have a small little kitchenette or a bathroom in there. It's about the right size. So would we consider a smaller? I mean, we're pushing it the way that it is. Again, we don't have really garages that are usable, certainly not for a Sprinter van, so.
Question for you. The Sprinter vans, what use do you put them to? What do you do with them?
So we use them for just vacationing and, so.
Traveling.
And traveling, but part of it, you were at the property?
Yes.
So we want to drive them down to you saw that big pad that was down there? And so spend a night out right by the water. We have dogs, and they love the water, and it's really just, again, a getaway for us.
Okay, I don't by any stretch want to make it seem like I'm trying to rain on your dreams, but that appears like you're setting the stage for a fairly significant amount of people to be there at any one time.
That's not us. No, we're not, that's not what this is. This is about just our two families. So I have 3 boys, and she has two, the other family has 2. This is not about
But only actually
parties.
2 of the kids are only live in state,
Yeah.
so.
No, it's really
Yeah.
just for us.
adult.
Because initially, when I saw how the lot tailed down and it went all the way to the water, saw the stakes that you put up, I appreciate that. A lot of people don't take that effort, and it makes it hard. But you had the stakes up, and I'm like, well, the way that falls off right there, it won't be readily visible from any place, and it's gonna be useful to them. And I thought, I don't see any real big issues with this. Then I came back and I read some of the information that came along for the ride, and have since heard from some other people, and I don't necessarily hold a majority opinion. So, Mr. Floyd, I ask you if you would consider a smaller building. A lot of times, and I have no idea, nobody else has spoken yet, a lot of times you need to take the temperature of the room and get an idea of whether what you are going for, which you have every right to ask for, has a chance to make it, or if it doesn't. And if you believe it does not have a chance to make it, if you back down some, will that lengthen the odds you getting what you need? Just a thought.
Yeah. No, like I said, I think there's a space consideration both ways. I mean, with the place, it'll be beautiful to look at. It's, that part I'm not worried about. And it's kind of what we need. So, I think what we were allowed was an additional 1,400 feet or something like that. That we looked at that, and that wasn't gonna be enough, not even close, really. If it was for one RV, it would be okay for one sprinter van.
How would you feel about the board asking that other building to be taken down?
The house,
No, the other storage building.
There isn't one.
there isn't one. They've been taken down. There's nothing on the property
Mis-
except for the house.
Mr. Chair, it's a garage that goes under the house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a little confusing on that. I'm not sure quite why it's like that in the paperwork, but no,
Okay.
it's an attached garage.
Okay. Questions by the board?
Mr. Chairman, there's a letter in our packet, too, that has to be read into the record.
Yeah, I've got it right up here on top. Mr. Walker?
When did you purchase the house?
December of
This
last
past
year.
December,
Yep.
6 months ago.
Yeah.
And you had to ask someone else when you purchased the house?
With COVID, timing is off on everything. We were looking for a property for quite some time, so yeah, I didn't remember the date, the month I purchased the property.
This is the first home you ever bought?
No.
Thank you.
The letter that Mr. Flood was referring to came in from one of the neighbors there. It is regarding ZBA case 2022-19. My name is Ken Kowalski, and I have owned 2710 Judah since 1987. I have reviewed the requested variance for 2740 that was published at the township's website, and have 3 points that I would like to make related to the size and location of the building. I built and permitted a shed on my property a number of years ago and speak from that experience. First is the overall size of the structure. At 2,600 square feet, it is larger, I would say, all other structures and houses on Judah Road. Being that large, it is out of proportion to the entire street and is contrary to the feel of the neighborhood. A smaller structure would be much more conforming to the neighborhood. Second, relates to the building visibility. When I built my shed, I located it not to detract from neighbors' view. The proposed site does not identify any material to obscure it from street or neighbors. A combination of building location and mature trees could be possible methods to resolve this issue. Number 3 is related to the use of the proposed building. RV storage is allowable on our street, no question, but the variance is living space with drywall bathroom, kitchen, and open area are essentially a 1,200 square foot home attached to a storage building. I want to emphasize that I am not against outbuildings. I have one, and support the building code variance process. But I believe that a different solution can be had to resolve the requested RV storage building. Thank you. That is one gentleman's opinion. Anything further from the board? Mr. Goodlaw?
I have a concern with the kitchen and the bathroom, and the applicant also said that they have two owners, so I just want to make sure that this isn't used for a bed and breakfast, so to speak, to sleep in the barn itself, for, if you have two owners and one wants a barn to stay in, one has a house, that's not the intention, is it?
No, no.
And how tall was the structure? Because it doesn't have a size on it.
My builder, Tim?
How tall?
Pardon me? 23 at the highest. 23? How tall, how high are the walls? 14-foot walls? Thank you.
Mr. Goodlow, in the event that the applicants were successful tonight, it would be a fair statement that once the building is up and inspected, absent a complaint from neighbors, you would have no way to determine if people were sleeping inside that building.
Exactly, so, it's just a concern of mine, that's all. That building isn't designed to do that, with vehicles in there and whatnot. Just a concern of mine, being two families owning it, and I see the kitchen and the bathroom in there. I understand why they're in there now, but it's just a concern, so.
We're not building a bedroom, it's just a,
Gotcha, thank you.
kitchenette.
Chair.
Mr. Cook?
Okay. I'm just going back to your application here that you submitted, and we go and talking about describing in nature the detail of the request, and in there you originally talked about 2,200 square feet, and this is at 2,600. The porch?
The
You
way
see-
that the measurements work is there's a porch.
I can't hear you, sir.
The way that the measurements for the city are, there's a porch on the lake side.
Right.
And that's the additional 200 and something feet. Almost.
So technically, Tony, it'd be 70 foot, the roof's 70 foot,
Okay, gotcha.
and it has 10 foot of porch, 60 foot of enclosed space.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. And then the other part of it is that you were talking about Sprinter vans, but in this you refer to it as RVs, to keep the RVs inside. So,
Technically, you can call it an RV, it's a Sprinter van.
Yeah.
I don't,
well, I think of,
class.
It's a Class C RV,
Class C RV.
but it's a Sprinter body. It's 26 feet long. There's one on, if you went to the property in the last week or so, there's an RV there.
Right.
We almost have very similar RVs, a couple of years apart.
the white one that's parked in the
Yes.
driveway?
That's what it is.
Okay, so, okay, the other part that I wanted to ask you about is, as you're walking down, you have, there are white pipes that are sticking out of the ground. Is that your drainage?
No, those are just pre-wire, as we were working on the property, we ran pipes just to be able to send wires down. So whether it was gas or electrical, whatever to code, it just was creating the space while we had the equipment there and making the path.
Okay, and you did something similar down by the water?
Yeah, it's all the same, they're just uptakes. There's nothing in them, they're empty. And if you go towards the home, you'll see there's additional ones closer to the house. That would be like a starting point. It's not a starting point, it's just while we were there, we ran that.
Okay. All right, because as I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, are they going to build this and then tear this part down, and it was like, is this a house? What is this going to be, the way it's laid out? Because again, the size of it, now, the porch, all those things, and then you mentioned that it's in essence, a vacation home.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. And by the way, it's a great view, so it's almost like, why obstruct it with a building that size?
Well, you can't really see it from the house. There's not a porch, there's not any,
I walked it. I walked.
No, I know.
and As
But
soon
it'd
as
be
I
nice
got
if
from
we
behind the
had
pine
the-
tree, you could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
Well, so from the street, there's a big tree that would sort of block most of it.
Yeah.
From the house itself, you'll get a, you know, it might block maybe 15 or 20% of that view.
yeah. That, as far as the view, that's your property and what you decide to do,
Well,
but
what
I'm,
it was before, we didn't have any view. So that's one of the things that was great about what we did to the property. I'm sorry if you can't hear me.
I can hear you.
Apologize.
Yeah.
The objective was to be able to create views, and so there was a lot of foliage and stuff. There was an old building that was there that we took down and really kind of cleaned it up. I think it looks beautiful.
Thank you.
We'll let the board think about it for a minute. Is there anybody in the audience that came to speak specifically to this case? Come on up, one of you.
Want us to sit down?
You'll just have to surrender the mic temporarily. You'll be called back up. You can have a seat there in the front little row if you want to. Introduce yourself, please, and tell us what your concerns are.
Hi, my name's Catherine Kennedy. I guess the first concern is we seem to be obliterating a lot of our natural resources. I don't think we should be building so close to lakes, and I do not understand why anybody needs a 2660 square foot pole barn. That's bigger than most houses in the area. And the fact that there's pipes just sticking out, what in the heck's that for? Wiring? Seems like there's a lot of activity going on beyond what seems to be proposed. I don't think it's safe to have a bunch of people in a big pole barn that doesn't have proper safety. And if you got a bathroom and a kitchenette, I don't care what you're calling it, it's a cottage, but it's not a safe one. That'll obstruct the view, damage the natural resources, and I really believe we need to make a concerted effort to stop filling all wetlands. All it does is create the next flood zone. And to have these beautiful lakes in this area that's being trampled right now, there's a lot of efforts to literally obliterate our beautiful resources that we have protected all this time. And I genuinely believe I have a proposal that would actually help. I'd like to talk later separately, but we need to preserve what we have or it will be gone and you cannot replace it. Thank you.
We have others. Next person, come on up.
Hi, Tim Finney, 2720 Judah Road. I guess I would be opposed to it for a couple reasons. One is when they moved in, they knocked down just about every tree on that place. I can now see my neighbor's house 4 houses away that I could never see before. I didn't even know there was one there. Seems like the building is going to be way too big for the area. My preference is when I walk down my path that I don't see another big building back there. It seems like it's going to be a big campground with RVs and boats and jet skis running around all the place. Judah Road and Judah Lake's like a sleepy little community lake, and it just seems like it's going to be way too big and way too loud and too many people running around for that area. That's my 2 cents.
I have a question for you, if you would, please. How many lot widths are you from these folks?
So next to him is Joel, and then there's another one, and then I'm the next one
Okay, thank you.
to the east.
Okay. Do we have anybody else?
Good evening. My name's Harvey Altus. I am an attorney on behalf of Joel and Kathy Altus, who are neighbors just to the east of the subject property. We're here in opposition to granting of this ordinance. Our concern is that this pole barn is part of a larger plan for the property that will drastically change the characteristics in this single-family residential district. I've been retained to investigate the filing of a complaint seeking to enjoin this development in the Oakland Circuit Court. And I've been doing some checking and investigating, and it's leading me to believe in what I've seen so far is the intent and the structures and the changing that has been going on in the property is in keeping with an intent to, I don't know if you want to call it an Airbnb or something along the lines of creating a commercial enterprise where you're going to have a high turnover of people coming and going on this property, different people perhaps every few days, every week, every couple of weeks, but a constant barrage of people that are turning over in this neighborhood, creating a commercial enterprise as opposed to a single-family residential district. And I understand the proponents here have said, no, that's not our intent. We just want a place to get away over the weekend. But that's not what we're seeing here. What we're seeing here is a huge structure in the middle of a quiet neighborhood. We've seen a road that starts from Judah Road, the very tip of which, by the way, encroaches upon my client's property and constitutes a trespass, continues on to a full-fledged road that goes past the house, past the proposed pole barn, and stops at a parking lot that accommodates some 20 vehicles. This parking lot is huge, and if you've been down there, you've seen it. We've been told that it's meant to accommodate RVs. I don't know how many RVs you need down there in this lot, but it may accommodate 4 or 5 RVs. It'll accommodate a good 20 parked cars. Beyond that, I understand that the plans are to create a beach. Wetlands have already been devastated down by the lake itself. There's a new dock that's been put in, which in and of itself is fine. But what happened to the cattails? What happened to the other growth that has been going down by that is gone now. And what the plan is to put a sandy beach there. There's a parking lot that is only meant to encourage a number of other people coming onto this property on a rotating basis. You've got families who are out there on a Sunday afternoon who want to have a quiet barbecue and maybe have a few friends over for a weekend afternoon. And what we're going to see potentially in this property are cars coming and going down this road, all times of the day or night, headlights flashing, probably drinking going on. We don't know, but this is not conducive to a single-family residential neighborhood. And this is the concern of my client and all the neighbors that I've talked with so far.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, of course.
First of all, for the record, can we have your client's street address?
What's your address? 2736 Judah.
Okay, 2736 Judah.
Right.
Now, I've heard, and perhaps I've not heard it accurately, I've heard what you believe may happen. Are you basing your movement forward on what might happen at some future time, or do you have evidence that this board would certainly be interested in hearing of things ongoing as we speak?
My concern is for the future of what may happen, of course, but it's based on evidence that I see what's going on right now. There is a road that starts from Judah Lake and goes, from Judah Road and goes all the way down to the lake.
That is true.
And it stops at a parking lot that accommodates a lot of cars. And the proposal before this board is to put up a building that is larger than any home that's on the street right now, and it's not to park RVs in there. It's got electrical, it's going to have plumbing, by the way, and this is a septic, as I understand it, that close to the lake. and they say there's not gonna be bedrooms there, but I don't know how, you don't need a bedroom to pitch a cot and go to sleep, okay? There's gonna be a stove, there's gonna be heat, there's gonna be electricity, there's gonna be plumbing. There's nothing else you need to live in that structure. It's gonna block the view of other neighbors, it's gonna block my client's view, it blocks the view of the person who I think you're gonna hear from tonight, that is just to the west of the lot. And it is also based on what's been going on in the county so far. I understand that some of the construction perhaps required permits that weren't pulled, and some of the alterations may violate existing ordinances and environmental concerns. Specifically, I'm talking about the vegetation and the growth that was eradicated from just next to the lake. I understand there was a stop work order on the property that was issued once already. That order was ignored. The police were called by my client in order to stop people from working there, despite the stop work order that was placed on there. After the police came and evicted the workers, the next day they were back again. This is in keeping not with, I'm gonna come up for the weekend with my co-owner and have a nice quiet afternoon. This is in keeping with a business enterprise that has no business in a residential neighborhood. So, with respect specifically to the criteria this board looks at in terms of determining whether or not to grant this variance, the criteria that's important to note is that this variance is not in keeping with the characteristics of a single-family residential neighborhood. It is not necessary to preserve an existing property right, which is another criteria under the ordinance, and in fact will likely interfere with the rights of the neighboring properties. Also, the variance will be detrimental to the public welfare in a single-family residential neighborhood because it's going to encourage traffic, trash, harm to the environment, it's going to create noise. The variance will diminish property values of the established single-family residence. One of the neighbors that I talked with just earlier today, and I think he is here and will present after me, has already expressed concern that where once his property was valued because it was in the middle of a wooded, secluded, quiet area, and now he looks out his window and he sees the site where a huge pole barn is going to be. The trees have been gone from the lot. It was the first thing they did was eliminate those, and property values will be diminished, not enhanced by this development. The variance will impair the public health and safety of the neighborhood. It's going to encourage traffic down this road, and it's going to encourage a number of people who are going to change the complexion of the neighborhood. And for this reason, I would hope that the variance would be denied.
Thank you. Members of the board.
Mr. Goodloe, sir.
Goodloe.
So the ordinance kind of lays out what you need to have a permitted increase in area. It's section 2711, 9A4, the accessory building or structure used for indoor storage of items that are permitted to be stored in a rear or side yard that could be unsightly if such were done. The kitchen and it's a little concerning to me having a kitchenette, as the applicant said, because, typically you don't have the fire resistances in these type of buildings, and to have the exercise to have a kitchenette doesn't make sense to me personally, because it doesn't meet the intent of the ordinance, which is it's used for storage. When you ask for an increase in size, the ordinance actually outlines that it's it has 4 criteria. It's aesthetically compatible with, constructed the same as the original home. It has a certain limitation on size, and it's, the principal building is, has a minimum square footage. It meets that in the area. And then the final one is used for storage. I don't think it's used for leisure, to cook, and so that's just a concern of mine.
Thank you. Flood?
Mr. Goodlow. I'm looking at what they're, what size they could build there without having to come to the ZBA.
Yes.
Their permitted use for that lot. And, when you do the math,
1,400, correct?
yeah, they could build a 30 by 40. That'd be 1,200, right? That gets you under, yeah.
I'd put them at 1,729. They could actually do even bigger than that without having to ask.
I'm trying to compare apples to apples here.
When they're talking 2,660 square
Yeah.
feet and 23 feet tall, that's a massive building. Think about that, 23 feet tall, 1,700. I mean, I understand it's in a deep lot, which is all good.
I'm talking about what they could,
Yeah,
permitted use without having to come to get a variance.
agreed,
This one here is twice as big
yes.
to me.
Do we have any other public comment?
Good evening, Jeff Antosiak, 2760 Judah Road. I live on the property just west of the proposed ZBA variance. My wife and I have been a resident there for 32 years. It's been very tranquil. First off, had the new owners even approached us or the Altises before buying the home, they would have found out what strong opposition we would have for such a plan. Secondly, either the new owners misled the Orion Building Department or they didn't care to come out and look at the amount of work being done on the property, as it was a clear violation of Ordinance 99's earth balancing, a limit of 100 yards. There was even a stop, some of this will be redundant to the previous presentation. Stop work order on the garage, and ordinance enforcement wouldn't come out to enforce it, and that took the sheriff's department to shut it down for the day. It's probably 60,000 square feet of dirt that was moved on the property. Moving just 3 inches per square foot would amount to over 500 yards moved. Approximately 1,000 feet of the driveway was excavated to put down a base under the current ground asphalt. Between December 8th and noon on December 9th, I counted at least 20 10-yard dump trucks being dropped off. So that right there is 200 yards in addition to what was bulldozed. You have to understand there was a front-end loader, an excavator, a backhoe, a bobcat, and a vibratory roller working on this property for over a week. This wasn't just a one-day affair. Soon after noon, these trucks were all backing in, by the way. Soon after noon, they were able to drive straight in, and the numbers increased to the point I couldn't even keep track of them. There were so many trucks being driven in. This is obviously well beyond just moving some dirt around, as the building official told me. This denied the board the opportunity to review this project, as well as denying the citizens in the neighborhood the rights to speak to it. Regarding Ordinance 99, I'm guessing Section 4, Article D, subsection 3, not to create an unreasonable hazard or annoyance, the crew is using a vibratory roller. This is what you'd see as a earth roller smoothing down the asphalt, except it's got a huge vibrating mechanism inside. And they use this smashed on the soil after leveling it as well as the driveway base. This process took hours over a course of days, shook my house as well as my neighbor's house, one house further from the project. My house now has creeks in it it didn't have before. If they plan on paving the driveway, and they probably plan on doing so, as one of the owners is the CEO of Asphalt Specialties. I ask that we specify that the vibratory roller must not be used. This entire process has been performed backwards. They should have spoken with the neighbors first. If they didn't like what they had heard from us, they could still buy the house and then start out with the ZBA request with the site plans. They started out by leveling the land, tearing down mature trees, tearing down a historic cabin, putting in piping for utilities to a garage they didn't have plans for or a permit for, as well as piping all the way down to the lake. Now that they do have plans, which include a kitchen, a bathroom, most likely an HVAC system, it's basically a second house with a garage on an R1 lot. What would Orion do if the building became a second home or a rental? Very easy to put a wall up between the RVs and put up a bedroom. The building has approximately 1,400 square feet of empty space after the two RVs are parked inside. 1,400 square feet, that's larger than the house. And that's not counting the 6 feet along each side of each RV. This building's oversized. I could find only one other structure on the street. The house at 2914 Judah, across from the gravel pit. That's the house that hasn't been completed in 17 years now. It still has a porta-john in front. And that house is only 100 square feet larger than the proposed pole barn, which is not really a pole barn. It's a 2x6 construction, all drywalled, all insulated. It's a house. It's gonna have a septic, and a kitchen, a bathroom. It's a house. My next door neighbor to the west has a very large pole barn, 25 by 36. If it was 27 by 36 or 28 by 36, it could fit 3 of their RVs in it. It's only 900 square feet. Oh, the requested structure is almost 3 times the size. Last fall, Mr. Altus and I had a discussion with Mrs. Israel, one of the owners of the LLC, and after seeing where the garage stakes were placed, I suggested that they move the location closer to their house, adjacent to my garage, so that it wouldn't be so apparent to me when looking out my door walls or sitting on my deck, and she agreed to that. When they put in the utility piping, it was moved back to the original position. Besides blocking some of my lake view, this overwhelming monstrosity is all I'll be able to see when looking to the east. The pole barn is house, whatever you want to call it. It starts at the back edge of my house and moves towards the lake. So I would have 60 feet of warehouse, house, anytime I look that way. This will probably diminish my property values by a good $100,000, and it's going to greatly lower our enjoyment of our home. As far as the actual need for the structure, is they've already owned the RVs. Where did they keep them before? Is that space no longer available? If they want them to be close by, the Cube Smart Storage area on Walden is less than 5 minutes away. They have oversized indoor units available that will fit their RVs. They just have to winterize them, which is a standard practice and inexpensive. I thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anything from the board? We'll let the public take a break for a minute. All right, can we wind up public comment? Do we have anybody else wanting to come up? And if you could, try to hit some spots that haven't been hit already.
Probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's okay. Do the best you can.
All right, Josh Spielbush, 2780 Judah Road, 2 houses to the west. I own the pole barn Jeff spoke of, the 900 square foot. It's a garage, not a pole barn. I should have gone the pole barn route, would have been cheaper. Anyway, I'm not opposed to building the structure. It does seem very much more than what they need for storage of their RVs by about twice the amount. I mean, the 1,400 square foot that they'd be allotted would be more than enough. And based on the, the submittal paperwork, that seems to be the primary concern for the storage is to house the RVs, which I guess have to stay inside, which is fine. The kitchen, the bathroom, it does seem like it's being set up for a multifamily, considering there's 2 families minimum going to be there or on it at the same time potentially. I'm going to get off on a tangent here. I'm not really opposed to it. It's just the size is massive. It is probably going to be, like Jeff said, the largest structure, if not the second largest structure on the entire stretch. Granted, it will be tucked away a little bit. It still is going to be in the view of more than 1, 2, probably 3 or 4 neighbors. I mean, it's excessive, to say the least. Mine, on the other hand, is between the house and the road, so I try to tuck it away between the trees and keep it to what I could fit based on the ordinance of the 1,400. But as for the clearing of the land and all that, I mean, that was kind of a little gut-wrenching to see it, kind of go down. My wife kind of got the brunt of that because she works from home and got to go through what Jeff went through with the low rumbling the entire week. But that's going to happen with construction. I mean, I'm in construction myself. I understand that. I just think that they have every right to build whatever they want on their home, their second home. I just maybe downsize it a little bit and try to, appease the neighbors a little bit just so it's, fun for all for the longevity of them being there. That's kind of what we're going for with, Lake Orion being living as a vacation. That's kind of why we got here 6 years ago. But, yeah, that's about it. As far as the pre-running of the electrical and everything else, it seems to be maybe jumping the gun. I understand it. You're there with the equipment and everything, but maybe putting the cart before the horse. Maybe not. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Sue. I live on Candlewick Drive. That's on the other side of the lake. What people have said here, and I'm very proud of them, is what I believe. They said what should be said.
Excuse me, sir, could you tip that mic towards you a little more? Yep, there you go.
All right. What everybody has said here, I don't know the neighbors across Judah Lake. I'm meeting them now. I live on the other side of the lake, and I can see exactly what's going on over there. I have to apologize to whoever wants to do that and build a resort, but I'm 100% opposed to it. And I'm very proud of the people that have talked for me on Judah Road. Do you need my name and address?
For the record, yes.
Richard Wirsu, W-I-R-S-U, 2701 Candlewick Drive.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any? Come on up.
My name is James Swash. I live across the street from the house I'm living at, 2741. I've been there for about 38 years. I have trust issues because of what's all been going on down our road for years and years and years with trucks, et cetera, and everything. I've met the young lady across the street. She seems like a fine lady. You know, if it is for us, you know, the family to enjoy their summertime out there, I'm all for it. It just seems like the structure is a little big. When they were doing construction on the road, they drove on my brand-new driveway, and it cracked, but they fixed it immediately. I mean, I think they're outstanding citizens, but the structure, if it was a little smaller, I think it would go further, you know? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody additional? Okay, if we could have the applicants back up, please. Reintroduce yourself, please.
Terry Chapman.
Thank you. First thing I want to make clear is, as far as I'm concerned, everybody in this room is 100% truthful about everything they've said. I'm making no judgments with the neighbors, with you folks, with anybody. I was concerned about the scope of it because of the size of it. You see now that you have an awful lot of people that feel apparently the same way. Without, again, everybody's being truthful, but I think some maybe went a little too far with their concerns. Others maybe not far enough. Others were real fair, in my opinion. I will tell you, I can only speak for myself. There are so many questions and so few answers. I would have extreme trouble supporting a large building tonight. I'd go so far as to say I'd have probably trouble supporting anything above what you're allowed under ordinance. And, I mean, if there's anything I need to hear, please, because if I need to hear it, so do the rest of these folks. It has the appearance, and again, I don't know. The first time I was ever on the property was to look at it for this case. They speak of trees disappearing, and I'm like, where and when did all this happen? I must have missed the, you know, the evidence of it. But it has the appearance of a lot bigger situation than I read here in front of me. Now, what might happen down the road is strictly not the purview of this board on this day. Well, the only thing we are here to look at is the size and reasoning behind what you want to do. I would have trouble supporting. Members of the board.
I have a few, can I back up a little bit? When I ask about the again, what are they called? The RVs that I don't,
The Sprinter vans, the RVs, yes.
okay, and there are two of them.
Correct.
And you two own both of them?
We own the property, or I own the property with my friend of over 25 years, Cindy Israel. And we wanted to have, find a lake property for the weekends or for the week or the summers to enjoy. We weren't looking for an all-sports lake. We were looking for a quiet place to just go and kayak. And I think on the lake, you're allowed like electric pontoon boats. But, you know, we don't have that. We put in a dock and we got a couple kayaks and we have some dogs and, you know, it sounds silly, but, you know, that what we were looking for to do together. And we do some camping and traveling in the Sprinter vans. And so we were looking to use this to, there's no garage there, and looking to store it. Yes, you can store it somewhere else. That's an expense. We own a piece of property. You know, we're looking to invest in it and enhance it. We're not looking to ruin the aesthetic of it. We're looking to enjoy it. We're not looking to rent it out, not looking to share it with other people, other than our family. We got a barbecue, you know. So that's our intention.
You remember my question?
No.
Nor does anybody else.
Yeah, yeah. How
My
many
question
Sprinter
is,
vans?
Do you Do you personally own one of those RVs?
I own one of the RVs.
Who owns the other one?
My friend Cindy Israel.
Okay. And who owns the property on Judah?
Cindy Israel and I own the property it's under an LLC, but it's, we're the owners.
So the LLC owns the property.
Yes,
And how many members of the LLC are there?
Cindy and I.
Now, does Cindy intend to live at that house?
No. She also has a residence about 30 minutes away, 25 minutes away.
Thank you.
Questions?
It's like we don't have a up north cabin, like a lot of people go up north and drive 4 hours. I work all week, I don't want to drive.
You understand
Are.
what we do here on
Yeah.
the zoning board? You ask for a variance from our laws.
Yeah.
And we grant it or don't grant it,
I understand,
based upon your application.
I understand.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Naskis?
Does the LLC own other properties?
No. It was formed to buy this house.
Bud, do you have anything?
My first question, when we started talking here, would you consider reducing the size of this building? I didn't get an answer for that.
No, it doesn't look like, anyone understands what we're trying to do, and that's fine. I mean, I would like to keep the size. I would not put in the kitchen. It'd be nice to still have a bathroom. It's closer to the lake, but, we can also walk up to the house to do that as well.
You do understand, and I asked the building department official, I own a substantial piece of property too.
Oh, what, I'm
I
sorry?
have a substantial piece of property myself. And I know what I can build on it, and what I'd have to come before this board to get a variance. I feel this building is too large to just store 2 vans. I store tractors, I store my truck and a car, and I still got plenty of room in my pole barn.
I think it'd be more than the 2 vans. It would be the kayaks and the UTV and other, things we acquire, but I understand.
I asked the building department official, I believe a 30 by 40 would still be permitted use on this property. It would still fall underneath the ordinance, which is not the size of a horse barn. When you get 60 feet, you're talking the horse barn size. I know that for a fact. I used to have some horses. So I'm opposed to this. If you're not willing to work with us, that's your option. I just want to let you know how I feel about it, like the chairman said.
Well, how much over the,
Practical difficulty, you
Yes.
don't demonstrate the practical difficulty to me here for storing 2 vans in that size of a building. That's just my comment.
Mr. Cook, don't mean to put you on the spot, but do you have anything?
I would shrink it, but I don't know by how much you're looking to have me do it. I said I would take out the kitchen. I would still like a bathroom, but I don't have to. So what above the variance would be acceptable?
Okay, before we go any further, now we're entering the territory of, would you be better served to take this request back for consideration? Perhaps work with the building department and try to come to a more equitable solution that could be brought back to this board on another day. I personally dislike doing these on the fly like this. We have done it in the past, if the rest of the board is willing. Or you can withdraw it to a date certain and rethink what it is you want to do. That is your right also. Or your right is, like I told you at the beginning, is nope, this is what I asked for, this is the vote I want, get on with it. In which case, we'll get on with it.
Okay, we'll reconsider.
So you would like to take this off the table and reconsider?
Yes.
Now, it would need to be to a date certain, Mr. Goodlow?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay. We have a 27th of June meeting that is not too heavily populated right now. And we have one the 11th of July,
27th of June.
27th of June. So you would like to bring this case back with some amendments. And I would suggest, you have a builder there, I would suggest a couple of things. One, that you work with the building department to find out what, why, and when of what you want to do. Secondly, I would suggest that you don't do anything else that could be construed as non-permitted work on that site until you come to some kind of a conclusion. Because it appears that the radar is up on that street, and it won't help your situation if PD or the ordinance man or somebody's getting run down there constantly.
Chair, I think Mr. Goodlow had a
Mr.
comment.
Goodlow, you have something?
We have a soil erosion permit.
Can I say something really quickly about that? So we did, oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, just 1 second, Ms. Goodlow.
The applicant has a soil erosion permit to put an asphalt driveway to the back property. We don't permit driveways, but we do permit soil erosion permit, so they were okay with moving the dirt in and out.
Okay,
So, yeah, they're under the rule of law there.
okay, thank you. Sir?
So I was just going to reiterate, we did everything under permit, and we did initially start because we were under a different impression that, and within a day, you heard everything. And then we went and worked with the city, and everything that we have done is to permit.
Good, good. Then the damage, if any, is minimal. That's a good thing. So we would need apparently a motion to bring this case back on June 27th. By somebody here? Ms. Flood?
That's what you want to postpone till the 27th?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I make the motion to, in the matter of AB 2022-19, Terry Chapman, 2740 Judah Road, Sidwell number 09-32-200-029, for the applicant's request to postpone until June 27th, 2022, to reconsider.
And I will support that. Anything by the rest of the board? Seeing none, please call the roll.
John Walker,
Yes.
Diane Danaskas,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes. See you back on the 27th.
Thank you.
Good luck,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Flood.
for the residents that are sitting in the back there that addressed the chair here tonight, this won't be reposted again. This will not be reposted. It's a postponement. They'll be here on the 27th of June. So you can check the township website.
Come up and reintroduce yourself.
Public comment, we should probably wait on that. Just do it at the end.
Well, I understand that, but I'm thinking we might, just give me 1 second, latitude. Go ahead.
Hi, Catherine Kennedy again from Lake Orion. And I have a question, given the fact that this group formed an LLC in order to purchase this property, shouldn't the case correctly be titled to the name of the LLC and reposted under the correct legal entity?
That'll be up to planning and zoning when the time comes.
Well, it's residential one, and LLC isn't residence.
They are taking their case away from this board tonight and going out the door with it. They're gonna go back to planning and zoning. How they handle it at that office at that time is something that this board would have any direct.
The only thing is that would not allow the citizens an opportunity to investigate the parties that are part of the transaction.
They'll be here on the 27th of June.
But like, to look up a LLC, you'd need that data before the meeting.
Okay,
So if you're not posting under the correct name, then the citizens cannot look into that, right?
Make a phone call. Make a phone call to planning and zoning and ask them what you just asked me. I cannot answer your question.
Okay.
They should be able to.
That's fine, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the next case, away we go. AB 2022-20, Ronald Gentry at 1031 Elm Avenue, Sidwell, 09-115-126-003. Petitioner seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, number 78, zoned SE Article 5, Section 5.04, subsection 1, a 40-foot front yard setback variance from the required 40-foot to construct a pole barn 0 feet from the front property line along Elm Avenue. Number 2 is Article 27, Section 27.028, lot over 2.5 acres. The second variance request is a 1,000 square foot variance above the allowed 1,400 square foot maximum floor area of all detached accessory buildings to build a 2,400 square foot pole barn. Number 3 is a 2,300 square foot variance above the allowed 1,900 square foot maximum area of all accessory buildings to build a 2,400 square foot pole barn in addition to an 1,800 square foot attached garage. You are the applicant. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Ron Gentry.
Okay, Mr. Gentry, I have one question that's probably going to bounce back a few times. Elm Street, that is still, from what I'm told, a platted street by the county?
Not sure what that means.
The county believes that it is an active street,
Yeah, it's 1 block long.
and it runs in behind your property?
Well, it runs next to my property.
When people come in on the gravel street and your mailbox is there and they go and they swing that curve, what are they on? What street?
When they go by my mailbox,
Yep,
Elm,
okay.
What about when they round the curve?
The street signs there are of little help
I
because
know, they're tough.
they give you two names and they're right there on top of one another.
Uh-huh.
I guess my biggest concern is do you recognize that the street runs behind your property?
It runs next to my property. Behind my property is a lake.
I understand that, but there's evidence that at one time there was vehicular traffic back there.
What does that mean?
Somebody drove.
You mean drove down into the lake?
Looks like it.
Well, I think in 1940, they made that an access. So it was made into an access. You really can't use it, because you run into wetlands now and you're running down a pretty steep incline. If you want to take a boat and truck or car down there, it'd be pretty tough. You have to back it all the way down. That'd be pretty rough.
Okay, members of the board. Thank you.
40 by 60,
It's a good size, isn't it?
that's another horse barn, yeah.
This is not a horse barn. It's going to be for a motorhome. Actually, I'm going to have 2 motorhomes in there. I got a 26-foot boat and trailer. Motorhome's 45 foot and the other one's close to 30.
You got 6 acres there too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that's a big lot. That's a lot.
How much of it is actively usable
You mean to get to the lake?
to do anything with? It doesn't require you to wear boots.
You can't use, it's pretty ridiculous. I bet you can only use 2 acres of that 6 acres. The rest is out in the water. I'm not sure why they put that 3 acres out in the water or 2 acres out in the water. I don't know why they do that.
Some properties own into the water.
Into the water.
Yeah.
Why?
Tommy's Lake, that's the way they used to do it back whenever they plotted the property out here, back in the day.
Just in case the water disappears? Or,
Yeah.
I don't know. A
Some-
lot of it's in wetland, though.
And some homes were plotted out to the center of the road. On Clarkson Road too, the same way.
Okay.
We own a lot that's under the lake.
Yeah. Yep.
As I say, we own a lot that's under the lake.
Yeah. It's just the way nature thinks.
Yeah.
How close to the side of Elm are you going to run with this?
To my lot line.
Okay, how far off the road is that?
Probably, off the road, it's probably 20 feet. I would think. I'm not 100% sure about that, though. I didn't go out and measure that. It might be closer than that. There's an access, they count that as an access going down, the one that was built in 1940. I think I'll be within probably 20 feet of that, so probably 20 feet of the road too, probably, because that access, I think, lines up and goes right into the road.
Who owns that?
What's that?
Who owns that access?
The subdivision, I believe. It's owned by Lake Orion. It's an access you can't really use. Right now, there's a big tree fell on it too now, so if the subdivision doesn't get it out of there, it might fall and kill somebody. I've actually addressed somebody that came by that said they want to know what I was doing, and I said, since you're connected with the subdivision, why don't you guys get this tree out of here?
Thank you.
Would you consider building smaller?
I'd rather not. If it was, if my back is against the wall, I would consider it.
Chairman. Mr. Gentry, there's a question here that you didn't answer. It says, describe how the alleged practical difficulty has not been self-created.
Say it again now?
Describe how the alleged practical difficulty has not been self-created.
The difficulties, my difficulties, I'm not sure I don't know exactly what you're saying there. Tony?
Okay, so there's a reason that you want it. Okay, there's a practical difficulty. Is it,
Oh, you mean for the size of the pole barn or to build a pole barn?
or why you want the variance itself? Yeah, so to answer, yes.
So I can pull my motorhomes in the building,
So were those, in essence, are
in
those,
my boat.
right, so are those being self-created? That,
I guess you could say that.
so, okay.
You could say that, sure.
And so that goes back to Mr. Flood's question, because this is kind of a self-created issue,
I guess you're right.
right?
When you want something, it's you self-create it, sure.
Yes, sir. And so that's where the question comes up in terms of going smaller, in terms of a compromise of some sort.
If say, if my back is against the wall, I'd think about compromising.
Yeah. So,
I've had my back against the wall a few times.
yeah. Well, you're no slouch. I know your history, sir. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, what Mr. Cook referred to, and it sounds like you both know exactly what he meant. Practical difficulty has to be present for us to be able to grant a variance under the rules. And it can't be self-created. It has to be something about the property that makes you doing what you want to do with your variance necessary, or you have to do it this way because that is a practical difficulty that you don't self-create.
I don't want to interrupt you, but could I?
Please.
Okay. One thing I didn't address is that a lot of the property is going down a hill, down to the lake, and it's a steep hill. And so that is a difficulty. I couldn't put a pole barn down there. It's just too steep. It's too wet. So that was not created by me.
I can see that. Okay, thank you.
Just wasn't filled out on the application. There were several answers that weren't filled out on the application, right?
And see, and that's where, what Mr. Gillow was referencing is there, on number 6, what you just said about the topography or the slope of the land, that's where you would have been able to complete that piece of it. So there's a couple things here in terms of some questions that weren't answered that would make this clearer, and then also addressing the size of it. I mean, because you've been in the room since.
Yes.
Each case is on its own merit.
I heard it.
But again, looking strictly at what you have brought to us, for you to go back and to say, okay, let's shrink it, this is what I can, and I'd like to potentially propose this. Because again, as Mr. Durham has said, multiple, kind of take the temperature of the room. And, but that's completely your decision, sir.
Is the temperature like, is everybody against the size of this, is that what we're getting here?
Well, I'll just give you my take on it. I can't support the variance that you've asked for.
And because?
This is just too much.
Too much of a building or too
Yes.
much variance?
Too much of a building. I don't like where it's gonna be placed, but as you just said yourself, you don't have a lot of options. I mean, your front yard is your driveway and some ancillary parking, and your garage is right there. Your backyard is sloping down to water. So you don't have a lot of choice if you're gonna put a storage building in, so it would almost have to go where you want it to go. The size of it, one man, one vote, I could not support the size.
Okay, it's good to hear.
Mr. Chairman?
Not really good to hear, but it's nice to know.
Yes, sir. The other piece that I would have a concern for is you said that the access road belongs to the subdivision?
I guess.
Okay, and,
It's hard to understand
right,
that. I was talking to Lynn, and, you know, she seemed to think it was belonging to the subdivision.
okay. Because we're, in addition to the other things, that where this would go, it would, in essence, be on top of that access road.
Wouldn't be on top of the access roads, it'd be 20 feet away from it.
No, you had it marked out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 20 feet away from the access road.
You're talking about the piece that goes down,
Well,
where you said 40 years ago they put it
Yes,
in?
yes.
That's what you mean by access road?
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 20 feet away from that. I believe.
So, but the access road would be for anyone wanting to go to the lake, correct?
Right, I'm not blocking that at all. They can go down that lake all they want. As long as they get past that big tree that's across it now.
Okay. I can look then.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, while the board is thinking it over, do we have anybody in the audience that would like to speak to this matter? Come on up. This gentleman will surrender the mic briefly while you have your time.
My name is Elmer Claycomb. I'm at 887 Walnut, Lake Orion, Michigan. Actually, it's pine, walnut, or whatever you want to call it. As far as elm, I've been there 64 years in that subdivision, and that street has just shown up in the last, I don't know, month or something like that. I've always been told, and the county always told me that it goes right from Pine Tree all the way around. Now, the county took that over from us. Got the county to take that over. It used to be a private road, which I used to grade with the bedspreads. And we had the county take over, and that road is, what he's talking about going down to the lake is an easement. We've got 3 easements. One there, which they've got the trees are growing up, so we can't slide down it anymore. We got 2 other ones. I agree with you, the pole barn would be too big. The other thing is, he's got vehicles parked there all the time. The other day, he had, I think, 6 motorhome plus 2 big ones plus a boat. Is he gonna use this pole barn for repair or to clean up boats or things and then sell them out there?
Excuse me, did I hear you say 6 RVs?
Yeah, small RVs or their vans, 1 or 2.
Okay.
Parked right alongside the road. And then he's using the internet with the marketplace to put the advertise, and he's using his address to see him. Now, is this going to be a business? That's the next thing, or, like I say, is he going to use this motorhome, not motorhome, but pole barn to fix up the cars or, you know, stuff, or clean them up to be able to sell them and have the people come there, or what? I just assumed that our subdivision stay a subdivision, not a industrial thing or sales place. I don't know how this board feels, but I don't mind a pole barn, but is it gonna look right down there where it is? Or it's gonna look like hell, you know? And this is my concerns, is, you know, I don't know if there's anybody else here to talk about it or not, but I'm the old fart of the neighborhood, so, but,
Oh, you've had eyes on it the longest. That's a good way to look at it.
what?
64 years impresses me, I'll tell you that.
60, I've been there 64 years, so.
I appreciate you coming in because you see it all the time. We see it when we go out and look at it unless somebody happens to live near there, which I don't.
Yeah, well, I just happened to see it, and I thought, whoa, wait a second, you know. I live down off of Pine Tree or whatever it is. Every time we turn around, it's a different one, but that's our concern, and that's our, I hate to see all those things sitting in the yard there, and him advertising and people coming out to look at things.
Understood.
So, but that place that we got going down there is the easement. Kids used to slide down that all the time at one time, but trees got too big now, and so.
Okay?
Okay, I thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Sir.
Am I done now, or?
Unless you just want to listen to what happens after.
Okay, maybe I'll do that. Thank
Okay,
you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else in the audience that comes to speak to this?
Thank you. Catherine Kennedy. I don't know if it's a typo, but it says 0 feet from the front property line, so the building would actually be at the property line. That's pretty tight. And if it is a business, that's not appropriate for this area. And the size is totally illogical for the area. Thank you.
Thank you. You have any comment on this, sir? Nope. Okay, we're clear. Come on back up if you would, the applicant. Board members, do you have anything for this gentleman? Well, let me ask you. You heard this gentleman's concerns.
I don't know when there was ever 6 motorhome RVs there, ever. Maybe if you took some pictures. Did you take some pictures?
Do what?
Did you take pictures of the 6 RVs?
No, I didn't think I had to, but,
Oh,
I can count.
Sir, just direct your comments to us, please.
okay,
Thank you.
sure.
Now, as I told the previous group, we're not allowed to believe one another is untruthful.
I understand.
Okay.
I just don't remember, if he thought there was 6, maybe there was, maybe there were vans, I don't know.
Sir, you can't just interrupt. 64 years or no 64 years. You can't interrupt.
So it's a safe bet then that you don't plan to be doing any commercial?
There's never been a for sale sign ever on one of my pieces of equipment that I've had there, ever.
Because you know that if you did decide to do anything commercial, where that building sits and the traffic that goes by it, you would be certain to be reported in pretty short order. Okay. Do you have any second level storage in there?
Say it again?
Upper storage in the top part of it? Is it 1 level or 2?
It'll be 1 level.
1 level. Thank you. Do you have anything additional?
Mr. Chair, I can see where this property is a little bit different than the one on Judah in that there is a practical difficulty kind of built in on the topography of the property itself. But I still can't get past the size of the barn.
What could we compromise down to?
That's not our job. Our job is to pass on whatever you ask for. It's your job to ask for what you want to ask for.
Seems like there's at least two of you against the size. Are there more than two? Are you against it too, sir?
I don't like that size of a building
I think that
in
barrier,
that zoning area.
I think that barrier you feel behind you is the wall, the one you said if you were up against. So as Mr. Walker said, if you believe that you don't have a good chance of succeeding tonight, you can do one of two things. You can make, and I hate to use these terms, a counter proposal to do something smaller, or you too can withdraw, take this back and decide what it is you're prepared to do.
Could I change it to 35 by 55 instead of 40 by 60? Is that more getting closer?
What would that bring us to square foot wise?
The mathematician's working on that as we speak.
I'm hoping.
I think I'm allowed 30 by 50,
1925.
right?
Sir, Dave, what?
1925.
1925?
And
What's
he's
that now?
allowed 1,900?
No, he already has a pole barn or attached section area of 1,800 square feet,
Yeah, read the wrong one.
in addition to the 1,800 square feet attached garage. So 2,300 square foot variance above the allowed 1,900. So, you know, it would still be it would be a 1,920 or 1,825 square foot variance. Because he has an attached garage. Follow me?
To answer your question, are you moving in the right direction? Yes, you are. However, again, I don't like doing these on the fly because I don't want you to go home and say, what did I just do? Or us to go home and say, what did we just allow? I like it when it comes back, and I'm speaking for myself. The other board members may not feel the same way. I like it when it comes back on paper so I can read it, go out and look at it, look at the adjusted stakes, and see if I'm now happier with what is there. I know you're just coming into the beginning of your build season, and you probably don't want to wait too long. I get that.
You're saying I'm going in the right direction, but you'd like to have more time to think about it. Everybody here?
I think we're thinking that you might want to go back and really look at what dimensions will work, and rather than us just back and forth with, you know, different proposals.
I believe she's right. I know it doesn't do with zoning and planning and zoning any good when we keep ping-ponging these cases back and forth. Now we've got it, now they've got it, now we've got it. And the applicant, the end user, doesn't do you any good either. But I don't want to see you fall into a hard no and have to go back and start from scratch.
You just say yes to 35 by 55. That'd be easy, wouldn't it? Then you go home and think about, what did I just do?
I see why you want a storage building. I see why you want to put a storage building where you want to put it. So two of the big three questions in my mind are already answered, and I'm already only, again, speaking for myself. It is the size that has got me concerned.
I'm going kind of in the right direction, though, right?
Smaller is better when it comes to something like that.
But you're saying you'd still rather have more time, rather than just saying,
It's-
okay?
If I can speak up, we're not
Please.
talking about time. We'll make a decision right now. We're not trying to put this off.
Okay?
I'm happy to vote right now on whatever you want. Within 1 millisecond, I'm ready to vote. However, you may not like how I vote.
How you vote.
That's correct.
Got it.
And we don't want to sit up here and be kings and queens and things of that nature. We're citizens just like you. We do this job because we like to do this job, but it's always a balancing act. There's always, the petitioner wants something. We have to keep the petitioner, we have to keep the neighbors in mind, keep the township in mind, the board of trustees. We keep all of this in mind as we're making these decisions. So there's a lot of give and take in these things. So afraid to make a decision? Not at all.
Would you like the numbers on that 30, or the smaller barn?
Sure.
So the first one, if he did say, it depends, I don't know if the lot line would change with that size, but,
It'll come back from the lot line,
okay, so that, how far?
come back 5 feet.
Okay, so it'd be a 35-foot setback variance
Instead of a 40.
instead of a
Okay.
40. And then it would be a 525 square foot variance above the allowed 1,400 for number 2 to build a 1,925 square foot pole barn. And then the last one would be 1,825 square foot variance over the allotted 1,900 square feet to build the 1,800, or 1,925 square foot pole barn in addition to the garage. So it'd be, do you follow that? All the board members follow that? That's would be the new numbers at 35 by 45, did you say, sir?
35 by 55.
35 by 55, yeah.
Well, happily, I can't make a motion anyway. I have to stay quiet.
Just to make everybody
So-
know. If you want, like, if you plan on doing a motion, I'd.
So if one of our fellow board members here is comfortable with this, it's one man or woman, one vote. That's why they put an odd number of us up here, so we can almost always decide something.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Cook?
Yeah, you've got the size issue, and then there's the easement piece also, in terms of that access. That would be my secondary concern, is where the building.
That's why I came back and down a little bit, too.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I'm going off of when I was out there and what I saw, and where I saw the stakes versus where I saw the gravel road, which is the easement to the lake, unless, are you planning on clearing more of the wooded area there to give easement, or just to that corner that we?
I'm just gonna clear what I need for the building.
Okay,
I wouldn't clear any more.
yeah, so.
You saw that other building that was just the same exact distance from actually where I was going to build it. That's there.
Yep.
I'm not sure when they put that there, but that's there.
That building belongs to the subdivision?
No, that building belongs to that lot that's vacant, or
Right.
whatever you want to call it, abandoned, or whatever it is right now. It belonged to that. They put that in after the fact. I think that house was built somewhere around 1940, kind of like a cottage probably. Then they put, somewhere along the line, they put a two-car garage up there, close to the access road.
Yeah, okay. Well, that would be my secondary concern, because, like I say, what I remember is different than what we're talking about here. But that would be my secondary concern, is the easement itself.
I wouldn't be cutting into the access at all.
No, but I'm saying that what I remember versus what you're telling me
Yes.
are two different things. So that, I'm just saying that we can go ahead and vote, but that's my secondary concern of where it is. So we got the size,
Do you feel
and
I'm
then,
blocking the access by where I want to put it?
correct.
No, the access, I'm closer to the access, I'm probably 20 feet to the access,
Right.
but it's not going to block anybody going down the access if they want to.
But as
Do that.
Mr. Dorm said earlier, I don't want to walk out of here and go, what did I just do?
I got it,
Okay.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
So you don't like it as close as it is to the access?
No, I'm saying that what I remember, you would be going on top of that access road.
No, not at all.
And I understand it's what
No.
you got my memory versus what you're telling me, and we're never going to agree on that, so.
Yeah, the access is right here,
Okay,
and that access goes right out, and it actually aligns right with the road, okay? I'm 20 feet back from that access, where I was gonna put the pole barn.
yes, sir.
I'm 20 feet back of that.
So it's not the gravel that we saw there, that I saw there? The gravel road? This, here, there's a picture here. You want to approach?
Sure.
Okay. So when you pulled up, that's why I was standing there looking, because I was looking at where that road is.
Okay, here I am. There's the pole barn right here. Okay? This elm runs right in, this turns into their axis. I mean, it's actually kind of that big is where they put it. But see, there's a pole barn. I'm not even close to that axis.
Right, so this is this the access right here?
No.
Okay,
No, the axis is straight down into the water.
okay,
It is not, that's my property going down here.
right. Well, because you reference a gravel road to nowhere.
Oh,
So
no,
that's why,
It's not, I guess it's not a gravel road, it's all overgrown with everything.
okay.
No, I guess if I.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we got to get you back to the mic because we're recording it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if I threw you off, I'm sorry. No, that axis goes straight down. So in other words, if you took Elm and didn't make that curve, and just kept going straight, you run right in that lake, that's your axis.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, how does the board feel about a motion on this matter, or if there is a lack of a motion? I don't know. We're kind of stalled right now. The gentleman did clarify a few things, and he did work with us to bring this down some. And historically, when somebody's been willing to work with us, we've tried to work with them. Now, there've been cases where we just couldn't, and other times we've been able to. I don't know if we get a motion for purposes of discussion or where we go from here.
Well, I think my hesitation is what I said, is what I previously alluded to, that
I'm sorry?
my hesitation is what I previously alluded to. There's been a lot of discussion back and forth, dimension changes. I would feel more comfortable if I had that in writing in the form of a motion with the new.
Let me give you a piece of advice. It's worth what it costs you, absolutely nothing. But based on the history of this board and with Mr. Naskas here speaking up on the matter, I think you would be best served to withdraw and come back to a date certain with new information.
All right, to look to make the building smaller.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, we will have on my date certain sheet.
when's the next meeting?
Well, we could bring you back on the 27th of June also,
A month away?
month away.
You can't come back 2 weeks?
Well,
Special meeting on that one.
but that would only be the second case.
I was told not to do any cases.
Not to do anything on the 13th?
There was some strangeness in the schedule.
Well, if it's gotta be the 27th, that's what it's gotta be.
That is going to be what it would be very best to be.
We'll have all of you back here again in the same room.
Okay.
And not that you didn't before, but make sure that, if you would, that you outline,
Where the
Even if-
access is?
yes, even if it's with
Yeah, I
little
don't wanna
tiny
throw anybody off, yeah, it's
mistakes.
definitely not curved, it goes straight down.
And that way, ZBA proof it as much as you can, so that when we go up there, we don't have any choice but to see exactly what you want.
Okay,
And then when you come back, hopefully you can come in, get what you need, and get about it.
all right, thank you very much,
See you on the 27th.
appreciate it.
Mr. Flood,
I'll make,
Need a motion.
need a motion.
we do need a motion.
We need a motion to take care of that for you.
You are right.
All right.
Am I still standing here then?
Yes.
Or you can sit down, too. You don't have to
I'm
stand.
not getting tired yet.
In the matter of AB 2022-20 Ronald Gentry, 1031 Elm Avenue, Sidwell number 09-15-126-003. The applicant has requested to postpone until the June 27, 2022 meeting to bring back more details.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Flood, supported by Mr. Cook. Please call the roll.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
John Walker,
Yes.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Diane Danaskus.
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes. Now we'll see you on the 27th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sit down now.
Okay, here we go to, where am I?
Can't be much left.
No, and I figured this was going to be the one that was going to probably take the longest. Case number AB 2022-21, Sean Oddish at 3901 South Lapeer Road, Sidwell 09-26-452-017. Petitioner is seeking one variance from sign ordinance 153, zone PUD. Request for one variance for a variance request for 5 additional wall signs above the one allowed, approved for a total of 6 wall signs, 107.39 square feet. Introduce yourself, please.
How you doing? I'm Sean Oddish of 3901 South Lapeer.
Are you the property owner?
Yes.
Okay. Establishing a couple of things. Did I read in your information that if you are successful with the 6 signs, you will still be below the amount of square footage that's in the ordinance?
That's correct.
You were here once before.
I was.
Can you tell me what happened? It's been a while.
At that meeting, it was also being mistakenly that we were approving it was 5 signs then that everyone assumed that they were approving, but the main sign on the front of the building above the main entrance was already approved as part of the PUD. So that is not something in question. It's the 4 other signs that I'm asking for, and it's currently 5 additional signs now because I had to be honest, I had to revise it because I couldn't ask for the same thing. And after a long thought, that was back in, I believe, July 2021 that it got denied. And since then, I really haven't wanted to remove anything from it, so we added a welcome at the front door. And that is not something that I need, and I wouldn't mind putting it up. I mean, when he sent it, because we had to, provide something different, I did like it, but I wouldn't mind removing it and having this meeting be for 4 additional signs. Now, why do I feel that I need 4 additional signs? It's mainly the unique shape of the building and being at a major intersection. You've got your front where I'm already allowed. Do you guys have the images of the signs? Okay, so you guys have the images. So the A star and then liquor below it. Now, I could essentially squeeze the fine wine and craft beer within that and call it one sign. But I was seeking this sleek, more modern look where the channel letters go on the awnings, and the awnings are built for that. Honestly, I have this exact signage at my Rochester site. I know that has nothing to do with, what you guys approve and what you guys like, but I have it there. And I get people asking me all the time, who did your signage? And even my sign guy told me on the way here, he said, I have people ask me about your signage all the time. They love it. And I love it. That's why I haven't really been willing to want to remove any of it. It's sleek, it's modern. Do I feel it's necessary? I do. Coming from M24, when you pull in, there's that side of the building where I would have the liquor, fine wine, craft beer sign on one end of the wing, and a sign would, in my eyes, need to go there because you wouldn't see anything on the front of the building. The front of the building faces the intersection at an angle, and the fine wine and craft beer, the channel letters, those being 2 separate signs, they're really accent signs. I mean, I could squeeze all that in on the main front above the doors and call it one sign, but it would be very cluttered. It wouldn't look as good. And then the other sign, the final sign, would be the sign coming from Silver Bell, where it would have the liquor, fine wine, and craft beer. So those two wings, as I call it the wings, are just, you know, to me, necessary. And then the other two signs are the accent signs on the awnings. And they just look sleek and modern. And they're just counted as separate signs because they're not part of the one above the door.
Any bites on a tenant yet? On the other side?
It's a little difficult right now getting that. So I really haven't. Right now, I'm focused on getting open. I see you guys finished before me. Congratulations. It's beautiful. I just wish I was, you know, finished before you. But
Well, I understand why you want the signs that you want. The building is multifaceted. It's a building that people aren't used to seeing where it is. You've got fast traffic coming from every direction that needs to be able to see what they're doing and make the right move to get out of traffic. So I personally, just from my own standpoint, I see why you want what you want. I'll be, if you are successful or closely successful, I'll be interested to see if it comes off just a little bit gaudy at night, but that's not really anything.
no, and you know what? It took me forever to find this sign guy to give me what I wanted because, you know, there's these lights, they change colors, and I said, no, I just want plain white. I just want, you know, and it took me about like 9 different sign companies to draw up just a clean font, nothing, you know, weird letters. I just want straight modern letters with a normal font, nothing curly, nothing like that. And we have it at Rochester, and it looks beautiful. I mean, I think it looks beautiful, and apparently my sign guy says people ask him, you know, they point out that site, and he says, I did that site.
Okay. As I say, I get it. Now I'll push back and let the board have their discussion with you. Mr. Flood.
Mr. Chairman? Yeah, I purposely went out and looked at your one in Rochester.
Does it look too much?
I think it looks awesome. And I looked at it, I went back and I looked at it at nighttime. Because I want to see, like, you know, if the letters are moving. You're exactly right. You know what's interesting? If you think about this, you know that corner wall you got facing Silver Bell, where you got that angle there?
Yeah.
All right. You're allowed a 200 square foot sign. You could put a 200 square foot sign on that corner, make the letters 10 feet tall, and ain't a damn thing we can do about it, is there?
Correct.
And I like this a lot
but it
better
wouldn't look
than
good.
I like this a lot better than a big-ass monument sign sitting out there, or 10-foot letters on it. You know, that's how they used to do it in the old days. They would paint a big thing on the side of a barn, you know, 10 feet high letters.
Yeah,
this
and
is,
I'm only at 108 square feet, and I believe I'm allowed
200.
maybe 200, I think a little above that, or is it 200?
One more thing about that area. See, we've had more traffic studies done in that one corner because of all the subdivisions that have been built in there and we've been taken to court for almost like 3 or 4 different things in that area. That's the #1 traffic accident congested area in the township. There's probably 50,000 cars a day go by there. And probably 30, 40,000 aren't people that live here in Orion Township that's passed through traffic.
Yes.
And what's unique on the weekend, the way the village has got things set up now with the DDA, and Oxford's the same way. How do you get to Oxford and Orion Village? You come off 75, you go down 24. A lot of these people coming out here have never been here before.
Yeah, correct.
So you're trying to capture that.
The
if you
fine
think
wine, I mean, gas stations will have beer and wine, but fine wine, people who drink that type of stuff, they know. The craft people, I mean, people are fanatics.
I understand 4 or 5 signs sounds like a lot. But when you look at the size of the sign, it's not even half of what you're allowed.
Also, Mike, do you recall, do you remember how many signs I had on my windows?
Yeah.
How many?
Oh, there must have been at least 10 or 12 of them there.
On the windows there?
On the windows when you had the old store there.
On the Rochester site?
Yeah.
On the one where I have this sign?
The current one.
The current one on Walton and Adams, where you went and checked out the signage?
Right.
Did you
I didn't
do you
really pay
recall?
attention, no.
0.
Okay.
don't allow the companies will print that stuff for free, put on the windows, and it's allowed.
I thought you were talking about your former mobile station.
That was only because we were covering the shelving, we were
Exactly. You had
outgrowing
signed
it.
over- Exactly. I thought you referred to
Forget the old, the old's gone. And I didn't like it either. I used to have the Hollywood program
Yep.
on the windows, but that was really just covering the back of shelving. So those were no longer windows. But another thing is that with the signage that I'm asking for, there will not be any signage on the windows. I keep it very clean. These companies will print, whatever brands, Miller Lite, and print it for free and put on my windows, but I just won't allow it. This is all I'm asking for. And it does sound like a lot of signs. If you want me to remove the welcome, if you want me to do it, I'll do it, if that's what it takes to approve this. But welcome was just added.
Speaking as one board member up here, I have no problem with that. I think it looks nice when you.
Mr. Naskis.
I also like the design. This is what we brought before. I don't think I had no concern with the design at all. I think the question I raised, and I'll raise it again, you're looking for additional tenants, food service tenants, fast food, whatever. Am I correct in remembering?
Correct.
So my only question is, what type of signage are we looking at if we have additional tenants?
That's a problem I'll have to deal with later. That's not something
Okay.
I mean, right now I'm focused on my bread and butter at that location is my C-store, my gas station, and the convenience mart, and that's what I'm here for today. As far as the tenant, that's a problem I will gladly be happy to deal with in the future.
Okay, and then just a question to my fellow board members, if I'm correct, if a separate food vendor comes in, let's say, as a separate store, they're entitled to a sign, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right here, yeah,
Okay, that's all, just wanted to clarify.
that's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you'd like to see, I have images of my current site where we have Tim Hortons. Would you like to see how their signage went on?
Sure, that'd be great.
Approach.
Oh, sure.
Certainly.
So this is that would be Adams, facing Adams. So
Oh,
we've
got it.
Tim Hortons
Okay.
signs to the
You're the
left.
Tim Horton, right?
Yep,
Yeah, and
Yeah, I
it's the
saw
same
that.
thing on the opposite side.
Yeah, I saw that
Great.
before.
But it's a
Thank you.
smaller sign.
thank you.
And I'll just show that because this site is, it's a
Sim-
replica.
Okay, great,
So-
thank you.
Yeah, it's right there. Another 10 at least is space.
Yeah.
They allow,
Anything additional from the board?
you got on these strip malls.
Oh, yeah, I know.
If not, we could entertain a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay, Mr. Naskis.
On item, I'm trying to find it, oh, there it is, good, thank you. I matter ZBA case number AB-2022-21, Sean Oddish, 3901 South Lapeer Road, parcel number 0926452017. I would move that the petitioner's request for one variance from sign ordinance number 153 zoned PUI. Number one, a variance for 5 additional wall signs above the one allowed be approved. Approved for a total of wall signs totaling 107.39 square feet be granted. Because the petitioner did demonstrate the following standards for the variance that must be met in this case, and that they set forth the following, which show that in this case, the petitioner does show practical difficulty, in that this is a unique location. It is a corner location on a very busy area. Additional signage has the potential to reduce any confusion on the part of drivers trying to access the store. The exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions are also applicable that do not generally apply to other properties in the same district or zone. And again, I repeat, the location of this and the way it's facing and the amount of traffic here makes this kind of signage necessary. It is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by, it is, yeah, for property in the same area. I just lost it. Let me see. Let me repeat, please. The variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right possessed by other properties on the same zone based upon the following facts. I'm going to skip to 4. The granting of the variance or modification will not materially be detrimental to the public welfare or materially injurious to the property or to the improvements in such zone or district in which the property is located based upon the following findings. It just would not be injurious. Further, it will not impair adequate supply of light or air to the adjacent property, will not unreasonably increase the congestion at public streets. In fact, it should decrease it by giving people ample advance notice of where your store is located. It will not increase the danger of fire or endanger the public safety. It will not unreasonably diminish or impair property values within the surrounding area, or in any other respect impair the public safety, comfort, morals, or welfare of the inhabitants of the township. Do I need to go back to that?
I will second the motion if the motion maker would consider amending the motion to include that this is located at the most busiest intersection and located in the township.
Accepted.
Anything further from the board? We have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Danaskis and seconded by Mr. Flood. Please call the roll.
Tony Cook,
No.
Diane Danaskis,
Yes.
Don Walker,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes, motion passes. You're on your way.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Congratulations on this beautiful building. Honestly, it's very nice.
Good luck
Thank you,
to
Mike.
you. Next, we have public comment. We're fresh out of public. Communications, anybody have anything? Seeing none? Committee reports, anything? Seeing none. Member comments, I'll start. I appreciate Mr. Floyd acting as a brake on my enthusiasm when a case goes on and on and on like that. I want to, come on back another time. Wait, you can't just do it that way. You have to go for a motion, so I appreciate the break. Mr. Goodloe, you were absolutely correct in allowing that lady to come back up was not strictly within the lines. However, this is exactly what I was hoping to get out of it, let her get what she had to say and go about her business. So you were absolutely correct, but that's why I did what I did. Anything from the board? Mr. Flood?
I sent out an email to all of you, if you saw it. We had 3 free events coming up in the township. And we have a Saturday, June 4th, there's a Shred It, which is a document shredding right at the Orion Center. And you don't have to be a resident to participate. You can be anybody. And there's no limit for household. So take advantage of your document shredding. And then that same Saturday, we got a no-haz collection at the Oxford Middle School, free, Orion residents in the village. And on Saturday, June 11th, will be the first free disposal day at Eagle Valley Landfill, which is also free to Orion Township and village residents, and it's only for those residents. That's it.
Thank you. Anything additional? Seeing none.
Yep, up.
Oh, you're back there. I didn't see you. What's up?
I'm here. What, do you think I left? Thanks. Thank you for being an excellent chairman today. You did a great job running the meeting. And thank you to all of you out there who attended the library book sale. We did really, really well, in spite of all this still COVID lingering around and lack of volunteers. But as I look around, I don't remember seeing any of you at the sale, just saying it. But thank all of you who did show up and bought all those books.
One other thing I should have said, and I interrupted somebody. Somebody has to find out where to control the air conditioning. I can't
Yes.
do
It's
another
really
meeting
cold
like
in here.
this. I'm sitting here shaking.
Me
It's
too.
really cold.
It's cold in here.
Got a sweater on the vest.
Even if we just turn it off, that'd be good,
I'll make a note of that.
please. Now I
You can have
interrupted somebody.
appoint a subcommittee headed by Mr. Cook to look into the temperature control.
So we'll have a committee report now.
I was gonna let Mr. Walker know that while you were out on your sick leave,
Oh, you did?
I sent my annual donation into the Friends of the Library,
Your Friends membership? Thank you. And I apologize.
above and beyond the normal.
Okay. That allowed me to get some free coffee, so thank you.
Yeah,
Motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We're done.